Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be starting a new chapter on social structure and stratification along with the social process. Now, as you all are aware, the definition of social stratification which has been done in the previous class. Now, before we move on to the features of social stratification, we'll be starting with the definition of social structure. Now, how social structure is defined is just that every society has a specific pattern. Every society is organized in a specific pattern, and when there is proper arrangement and order in the society, that means that the social structure of the society is functioning in a proper manner. Now, basically, there are two important elements that comprises the social structure. Number one is human relationships, and the other one is basically the human actions, right? So whatever institutions are there in the society, these institutions are different forms of social structure. And one of the most important character of social structure is that it is something which is permanent. It's not transitory, it is something which is permanent. Now, what is social stratification? Social stratification basically implies structural inequality. That is, when the society is functioning in a particular manner, and where there are certain deviations which are added to the society, that often results into structural inequality. Now, basically, social stratification can be defined as the one of the most evident forms of social stratification are basically caste division, class division, region, community, tribe, and gender. Now, social stratification is basically referred to as structural inequality, where the people are basically divided into different categories on the basis of four indicators, that is income, wealth, power, and prestige. And this form of stratification is something which is definitely will not be promoting equality. Now, there are certain set of advantages which are being used by the privileged sections of the society, and that include life chances, social status, and political influences. What are life chances? Life chances basically refers to those material advantages which are being used, which are being enjoyed by the privileged people, and that actually improves or enhances their quality of life. Right. What is social status? Social status, people who have better life chances, they definitely occupy a better social position in the society, and social status refers to the position or the prestige or high standing in the eyes of other members of the society. Moving on to political influence, that is basically defined as the ability of one group to dominate others, and it's a common perception that people who have power, people who have social status and better life chances tend to be more dominant over people who are lagging far behind these. So these are some of the components of the advantages that are being used by the privileged people. Now, moving on to social structure to social process, basically there are three important social processes that are functioning in our society, without which the society cannot function in a very smooth manner, and that includes cooperation, competition, and conflict. Now, these are the three fundamental processes which are being experienced even by the people in their own life, and we will be dealing with these three processes one by one. So what is basically cooperation? Why people tend to cooperate? Because it's definitely not possible to live your life alone, and we are basically dependent on a lot of people for our basic means of survival, right? We are basically, we don't grow the vegetables that we eat. If something is, if we are falling sick, we basically go to a doctor to cure ourselves. So cooperation is something which is a very vital component for any society to survive. If the members of a particular society are not cooperating with each other, then of course that society will not be called as a very functional or as a very positive one, right? Cooperation is also required for people to come together and work together to achieve a common goal. So if the goal is to maintain the peace and harmony of the society, then it's very important that people should cooperate. They should follow the rules and regulations that are being set by the society, so that society functions in a very precise manner. Now, there are a lot of characteristics of cooperation. Cooperation is something which is an ongoing process. it is universal. You won't find a single society where there is no cooperation. Cooperation is basically done in order to achieve a common goal where people come together. So these are the different characteristic features of cooperation. Now moving on to competition. What is competition? Competition is basically why competition take place only when the resources are scarce and the population is small, right? It is again defined as one of the most universal process that is found in almost all societies, and people compete in order to get hold of these scarce resources. What are the scarce resources? It's food, shelter, power, money, etc. These are some of the scarce resources that people are basically fighting for. And one of the unique feature of competition is that people are very much focused on their goal. They are not aware of what other people are doing, right? So competition is something which is it is healthy if people achieve their goals through better means, and it becomes unhealthy when people try to cause harm to one another in order to achieve goal. So what would be the characteristics features of competition? It is again universal, it is an ongoing process, and it will go on and on. It is found in all kinds of society. Competition is unconscious. That is, you're not aware of the other competitors who are also fighting for the same kind of resources. I'll just give you an example. In an examination hall, basically where people are appearing for civil service examination, in that particular hall, you're not supposed to know each other, right? We are just focused on what we are writing, and we are focused more on our goal rather than what other people or whoever is sitting beside us is doing, right? So competition is something which is unconscious, and competition can be direct or indirect. Again, a very important social process without which a society cannot move ahead. Society needs to compete, otherwise it would be lagging far behind. The last social process that we will be discussing about is conflict. Now, how do you define conflict? In competition, the people are more focused on the goal rather than what other people are doing. Now, conflict is exactly opposite. In conflict, people are more focused on what other people are doing rather than on their goal, right? So if I'm into conflict with somebody else, I would be more interested in what the other person is doing, and I would try my best to cause harm to him or her so that he cannot reach the goal. So in conflict, people are basically giving all their energy, all their resources in trying to devise ways or means through which it can hurt the other people so that they cannot achieve the goal. So when the focus shift from goal to other people, that becomes conflict. So any competition can be turned into conflict depending upon the perception or how people look at the goal, right? Now, conflict is something which is very personal. You're aware of your competitors, right? In conflict, conflict which take place between two people or which take place between two parties, we know who is your enemy. In competition, it's not possible to know exactly who is your enemy if the number is quite large. So conflict is much more personal. Conflict can be direct or indirect. Direct conflict is one in which people are basically directly harming somebody. It's something which is more open, more explicit, compared to indirect conflict where you're actually not directly hitting on somebody, but indirectly you're trying to create a lot of hurdles, as a result of which that person automatically fails to achieve the goal, right? So now the question is, the debate is all about whether competition, conflict, and cooperation, whether these three processes are all these three processes beneficial to the society or not. And the answer to this particular debate is that, of course, yes. In a society, it's very important to have cooperation, because without it, it won't be possible for the society to move ahead. Competition is also required because otherwise it will fail to provide the basic needs of survival. conflict. How can conflict be functional for the society? Now, if I look at conflict from a different perspective, I find that conflict, one is that you're hitting somebody, you're causing harm to somebody. So, another perspective of conflict can be differences in the opinions, right? I might not agree to somebody's opinions or somebody's ideas, or he might not agree to mine. But when there is a friction of ideas, that can result into a newer one, a new innovative idea, right? So in this sense, conflict is also very important, because conflict can give result to innovative ideas, and through which the society can definitely enhance and develop and grow more. Right. Another reason why conflict is important is that otherwise, if the society is not able to protect herself, then it will be destroyed by foreign powers or something. So basically, that is why conflict is very beneficial. And these are the three processes which are consistent in every society, and as long as human society is existing, is surviving, these three processes will continue and will remain so. Even if I look at a very micro level, even in our lives, we also go through these kind of processes, right? We also cooperate with people because we have certain goals that we can achieve, that we have to achieve, and it's not possible if we do it alone. There's a sense of competition, because if I give you a very small example, in a classroom, during examination, there is always competition that is going on amongst the students in that particular class, and that is healthy as long as one is staying within the limit. But the moment one crosses the boundaries of healthy competition, it becomes a conflict. Similarly, conflict is also there. We do indulge ourselves into a lot of unfortunate events or circumstances, and often for our personal growth and satisfaction, we often tend to kind of try to violate the rights of others or cause harm to others, right? So this was all about the social process, and it's very important to have an idea of the social structure and the social process that is persisting in our society, because it's all about understanding your society, and if you're not being able to understand your society, it's very impossible for the sociologists to do a proper analysis. And of course, that is why these two concepts play a very important role in this analysis or in this particular discipline. Thank you so much.